Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Welcome you all to the webinar on new challenges in application security. In these challenging times, there has been an increasing demand for reliable and secure application services, and businesses have to scale up to meet such application needs. We have amidst us two great speakers from the security space who will take us through the various challenges and approaches the security teams have to follow to detect vulnerabilities in their applications real time, even in cloud environments. They'll be taking us through use cases and a live demo as well. Let me introduce you to the speakers for the session today. We have Daniel Lopez, the sales director from Hdiv. Daniel has over 20 years of international experience in consultancy, pre-sales, and sales roles in the networking and cybersecurity industry. Daniel is a technology enthusiast and passionate about helping his clients embracing the new trends to optimize the set of tools and processes during the business. Daniel holds an MSc in telecommunications engineering and when not at work, enjoys spending time with family and motorcycle riding. Welcome, Daniel. The next speaker is Kannan, who's the head of excuse me, who's the head of cybersecurity practice at GAVS Technologies. Kannan comes with 21 plus years of experience in cybersecurity space. He is a subject matter expert in the areas of cloud security, infra security, including SOC, vulnerability management, GRC, identity access management, and managed security services. He has handled multiple large cybersecurity transformation engagements for various clients across BFSI and healthcare. He holds certifications like CGIT, CISM, CRISC, etc. Welcome, Kannan and Daniel, to the session today. Audience, before we hand over, we let Kannan take over the session. Request to share your questions on the question panel. The speakers will be able to take your questions during the end of the session. Thank you. Over to you, Kannan.
Thank you, Anand. So hi all, thank you so much for joining this session. Before we start, I would like to start with a poll question. So let's start with the poll question. So do you have DevSecOps initiative in your organization? Please answer yes or no. Like, I mean, if you have a DevSecOps initiative in your organization, we'll give 30 seconds, for your response. So if you're already using DevSecOps in your organization, please answer it as yes. Or otherwise, you can just mark it as no. You have another 10 seconds. Okay. Thank you. So as expected, I see many of you have answered yes. So this is the current scenario. A recent survey conducted, for 250 large organizations in US and UK, they confirm 75% they are already started implementing DevSecOps in their organization. The primary reason that everyone wants to go or embrace DevSecOps is it improves the security, the quality, and the resiliency, followed by faster to market. Actually, it improves the faster to market by up to 30%. With that said, let's move on to the next slide. Thank you. So let me introduce myself and about the GAVS. So GAVS is a global IT services provider with a key focus on AI-led managed services and digital transformation. Zero Incident Framework, or ZIF in short, is our AIOps platform that enables proactive detection and remediation of incidents, resulting in increase in the uptime. So our cybersecurity practice has 6 industry-aligned towers. So they are GRC, digital identity, infra security, vulnerability management, data privacy, and business continuity management. So we have 100 plus resources supporting 25 plus customers. And so we have a very strong SOC and red team. On an average, we manage up to 80,000 plus on a daily basis, we monitor 10,000 plus events. Let's move on to the next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide, it talks about the new reality in the application and software security world. So let's start with the constant change in the threat vectors. The threat vectors, it constantly keeps changing from a simple SQL injection to a server-side request watching. Complexity of a threat vectors, it keeps changing day by day. So these threat vectors need to be constantly monitored and taken care at the right time. So adoption of DevOps. Now, DevOps is adopted in a much faster rate by many organizations. A recent survey says by 2022, 90% of software projects will use DevOps practices. Security testing must be carried out at each and every stage of the CI/CD pipeline. Both code and the runtime needs to be tested for vulnerabilities, and it has to be addressed immediately. Next comes adapting or moving to the cloud. Cloud adoption is again picking up much faster pace. A recent survey says that 70% of the organization they are considering moving some workloads to the cloud. The internal facing applications moving to cloud exposes vulnerabilities and security flaws in the application. Rise of the microservices and containers. So we all know the microservices and containers, all the applications they are using this. Enterprise, they are looking for a highly scalable application, and they want multiple instances to be spin off in a short span of time and without any deployment complexities. So microservices are extensively used to share functionalities between other applications. So containers and microservices, they bring in additional complexities and new set of vulnerabilities to the application security. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay. So here are some security and operational issues due to the new trends that we just discussed in the previous slide. One is too many non-reliable tools. So we have too many tools. There are multiple SAST and TAST and the SEA tools. With all these tools enabled, what really happens is we get a lot of false positives. The team they spend a lot of time analyzing the false positive, and they have to end up training the application to identify and reduce the false positives. The applications are still vulnerable. What I mean by this is a well-tested code, let's say the SAST or TAST, it still has some vulnerabilities which is not identified at during the testing. Now, not to mention about the open source codes, that requires expensive tools like SEA to identify and fix the vulnerabilities. The significant time, it's spent by the application, security. If you look at it, the enormous amount of time, it's spent between the development team and the testing team in terms of identifying and fixing the security flaws. That some of the tools they use are not compatible, especially the integration with the current CI/CD pipeline. It's not seamless. So the automated workflow to report the vulnerability to the development team and the support team, it's not really very effective in some of these tools. So as a result, they spend a lot of time in manually reaching out to each and every team and getting it resolved and all that. Last but not the least, no real-time protection of application in the production environment. I completely agree. There is a WAF, but WAF is not fully context aware, and it cannot, if there is a business logic flaw, it cannot protect the business logic flows. So not all the programming languages are supported, and as a result of it, like there are some challenges even if you use some of the tools like so ability to log and alert, continuously monitor and block if there is an attack. It's still a challenge with the current tools that we have. Next slide, please. So what you see here are some of the recent incidents, and what is the real challenge for an organization is, of course, every breach comes with a lot of penalties, but more than anything, they are extremely worried. 90% of the organization feel that they are worried about the reputational loss, the damage that they go through because of the breach. Just to give you an example, right? The British Airways, they recently faced a breach. If you look at it, initial fine was they talked about close to 183 million and all that, but finally British Airways ended up paying 20 million, and it resulted in a breach of more than 400,000 customers. It all happened just because the website, it diverted the traffic to a fraudulent website, and that resulted in this data breach, right? And similarly, when it comes to Starbucks, there was a SQL injection. With that, they were able to get more than 101 million customer records, and especially the financial records. So if you look at it, just a simple SQL injection, but they were able to get the details of the customers. So while the vulnerability may look small, right, but what is the issue here, right? They end up paying a huge amount of penalties, fines, and the reputational damage that they go through. So these are the key problems that the industry is currently facing. Next slide, please. With that, yeah, thank you. So I would now hand it over to Daniel to talk about the Hdiv solution. Over to you, Daniel. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kanan. Thank you everyone for being here. Yeah, following Kanan's comments on the challenges that the market is seeing and the different organizations and the risk, let's not forget, is out there. From Hdiv Security, we are a vendor. We develop software solutions, and we are completely committed to help with those challenges. In particular, we have a unique approach to application security, as we provide not only solution to detect vulnerabilities at the earliest stages, but to also help along all the life cycle of the application. But we also focus on protecting in production against attack attempts. So really, our tool or our set of solutions will allow to make a reality any DevSecOps initiatives. So every organization we are talking with are involved in some kind of DevOps or DevSecOps initiative. Sometimes they find it difficult to find the right set of tools to implement this set of ideas with DevSecOps is bringing. Okay, so we are one of these vendors who can be a key part of your tool set for these initiatives. We are well recognized by the analysts in the market. We have some unique features, both in detection and protection, and this is why many customers in many different businesses all around the world are trusting on us. So you can see a few logos there. We have many customers in the financial business, but also in governments, retail, industry, and in general, any company which is using an application for the day-to-day business running. And we are in the digital area, so that means every company really could benefit from our solution. So next slide, please. On top of what we do, the regulators and the different normatives worldwide are also talking about the need for more secure applications. They are talking about the need to implement the latest technologies for detection and protection, You have a couple of examples here on very well-known standards and organizations like the ECI and NIST, how they are, recommending or requiring using certain technologies, which is what Hdiv is implementing. So if we go to the next slide, please. Let's focus a little bit on what Hdiv can do for you. So in terms of the detection capabilities that we implement, we are mostly based in two types of technologies. The first one is interactive application security testing, and we also have software composition analysis features. With those technologies, we basically are capable to help every team in an organization who is involved in the application development, maintenance, or operation. So as you can see below at the bottom of the slide, you can see this famous infinite sign, which is the non-end loop for the DevSecOps initiatives. You can see how interactive application security testing may be used in any part of the loop, in any and all parts of the loop. This is one of the big advantages of this technology. The other big advantage is that you will have continuous detection of the inefficiencies in the code in terms of security, which is very different to traditional technologies where you had to stop the machine and launch a scan to do the detection. Excuse me. Some of the other big advantages are that we don't need the source code to analyze an application. We work with the application at runtime, we provide results in real time, and we work with the compiled code. And all of this is very important. Why? Because most companies are now developing with agile methodologies. This means there's many continuous changes in the software. So you need continuous detection. You cannot stop at every change to take a photograph with a vulnerability scan. You need something that can run continuously like a Hdiv. Secondly, no one is writing an application with starting with a blank page. Everyone is reusing third-party code, third-party libraries, whether from the open source community or from other projects that we had previously in our organization. Mostly for this type of libraries, we don't even have the source code. So it's very important that we can analyze the compiled code. We can not only identify the known CVEs, the known vulnerabilities in the third-party libraries that you are using, but we can also identify new vulnerabilities or 0 days in any part of your software, whether it's your own source code or a library. 10. If you want to make sure that we can really align with the DevSecOps initiatives, we need to integrate with the other tools that you may have in your pipeline to be able to help automating tasks, to be able to make your team more effective and productive. So from that point of view, we will help the developers by implementing with their IDEs. We will help the new releases of codes by integrating with the CI/CD tools to be able to set thresholds of the desired security posture, to be able to actually block automatically a new release of code, making it to production if the quality is not good enough. We can as well integrate with the issue managers like Jira, Slack, Asana, Bugzilla, and many others to automate the generation of tasks. So you don't need to wait for one of our experts, one of our cybersecurity experts to go into the results of the vulnerability detection, review them, and actually go assigning tasks manually. We can do this continuously and automatically. And then we can also integrate with data correlation tools to make our information more completed with the rest of the information you may get from our devices. And all of this, the most important thing about this type of technology, interactive application security testing, is that we can see more and better. So there's more accuracy detecting vulnerabilities than the previous tools, than the previous technology. So if we can go to the next slide, please. you will see how it's not only us talking about interactive application security testing, but the analyst, the well-known analyst in the market, and you can find this type of comments in many publications out there, are talking about how interactive application security testing is overcoming the limitations of static application security testing and dynamic application security testing technologies by being able to see more types of vulnerabilities, with making less false positives, so less mistakes. And the reason for this is just because the technology works in a very different fashion. So a static application security testing tool is just trying to understand in a static way. So without seeing the application really running, the tool will be trying to understand how the code will behave in production. And because they are not really seeing the application running, they will make some mistakes. So the main issues with a static tool is obviously they are not real time, but more importantly, they make a lot of false mistakes, false positives, excuse me. And therefore you need some cybersecurity expert to review the results, spend the time, and to identify which ones are real vulnerabilities. This is well known for the SaaS tools. When we talk about the DAS, the dynamic tools or web scanners, they work in a very different fashion. They send attacks to the application at runtime. So this is good. They are seeing the application running. They see the real thing. But the problem there is that with this type of technique, sending attacks, you can only identify a certain type of vulnerabilities. You are not able to really see all the possible issues, the security issues in your application. So those are kind of the biggest limitations of SaaS and DAS. They are not real-time tools, and either they have many false positives or they actually don't have a complete reach. What interactive application security testing is bringing to you is we don't do simulations, we don't do attacks. We actually observing every and all pieces of data, every payload entering the application, and from there, we can actually follow the life of the data in the application execution at runtime in real time. We'll be able to see how that data is behaving, how it's interacting with the application code, and from there, we can actually see the vulnerabilities. So we will not be guessing if there is a vulnerability, we will actually be seeing if there is a vulnerability without the need to attack. This is really important. So this is some of the advantages of this type of technology, and this is some of the reasons why the analysts are already notifying or confirming that this technology is overtaking traditional legacy technologies and in a very quick fashion. Okay. So if we go to the next slide, we will see that not all is good news. So regardless of what technology you are using to identify the vulnerabilities that you may have in your applications, whether it's static, dynamic, or the new interactive technology, or even manual pen testing tasks, in the end, what happens is the application is only real when it's alive, when it's in production. And when the application is in production, sometimes we need to take a compromise. We need to go to production with a suboptimal application in terms of security. So we may know that we have vulnerabilities, but we just didn't get a chance to fix them before the release date that we committed with our client, whether internal or external. At that point, we have a problem. We have an application with some issues, and we need to make sure that no one finding out about those issues can actually break into my application. So this is one of the issues that we have. And then, of course, there are some other possible security issues that no tool can identify a priori beforehand, before they are actually happening. The so-called business logic flaws or manipulations to the logic of the applications. So if we, from Hdiv, we believe that if we stop our solution here, we wouldn't have a complete story, we wouldn't have a complete solution to help our customers. So this is why we focus on the second part of the equation, which is actually adding protection to the application at runtime in production. So if we go to the next slide, what we propose here is the new layer of protection, which will be running as close as possible to the application and the application server, and is mostly implementing runtime application self-protection or RASP technology. So as you can see in this image, this will be a new layer of protection to go far and beyond what you can achieve with perimeter tools like firewalls or web application firewalls. So we are saying the tools that you are using today, they are very useful. They provide a good level of protection, but they have, like any other technology, they do have some limitations. We know attackers always go one step ahead. So what can we achieve by introducing this new layer of security running with the application? So, okay, the first thing we can achieve is to make it much more difficult for an attacker to bypass the security. So when we are talking about perimeter security like a firewall, regardless how good the firewall is, the biggest problem of a firewall is not the firewall itself, but actually defining the perimeter that the firewall is protecting. So what an attacker is normally trying to find is a back door or a lateral door into the network to avoid the firewall altogether. So this is the main issue with the perimeter tools, closing the perimeter. Of course, if you have the security within your application server or even within your application code itself, it's much more difficult to bypass. Second biggest benefit of this type of security layer is scalability. So as you know, probably you are already involved in deploying your applications and your systems in an infrastructure that can grow on demand. So when you have a period of peak traffic, you will be firing up new application server images to be able to manage all the requests from your users or customers. At that point in time, you need to make sure that your security mechanisms are also scaling as quick and as fast and as efficiently. When you have the security layer installed in your application server, you can make sure that that is going to happen by nature, because every new image will have the security by itself. So that's kind of the second benefit I wanted to highlight. But obviously, what is the more important thing that I want to highlight about this new layer of security? The actual type of attacks that this technology can protect against that are much more difficult to protect with a perimeter tool, or sometimes they are actually impossible to protect with a perimeter tool. And I will explain why. In many cases, this is due to the visibility that the tool, the security layer, has over what is going on in your application. So when we talk about perimeter tools, they sit in the middle of the communication, okay? So they need to understand what is going on in the communication. Sometimes you have to deal with breaking SSL connections, with intermediate certificates, which are always difficult things to do and somehow dangerous, and even some applications would not allow to intercept SSL connections. But even if you can, the firewall is going to make a decision based on the request. It's going to stop the communication. It's going to see if that particular piece of data or request looks like a possible attack. So it's going to check against patterns, blacklists, or some kind of behavior. And from there, it's going to make a decision whether to block or to allow the communication. Okay. Once that payload, once that piece of data, once that request has gone into the server, into the application itself, the firewall can do nothing about it. What happens? That certain types of attacks are based on things happening inside the application server. So if we go to the next slide, and there's a few examples. I'm not going to touch base on all of them, but just to give you a couple of them. What we can see, for example, is that sometimes an attack is based on the attacker just being able to reach my network, to reach my internal server, and from there trying to move laterally to another devices in my network. Obviously, once the attacker is inside, the firewall can do very little. So with this type of technology, you can apply micro-segmentation techniques to avoid unwanted communications within my network. Another example is untrusted deserialization, where a data that didn't look malicious initially and was allowed by the perimeter tool, for whatever reason, gets transformed, decoded, concatenated, however you want to call it, into a malicious attack or command. At that point in time, the firewall again didn't see what happened with the data. What we can achieve with our technology is we can actually see the consequences of the data transformation is that the data became an attack, and at that point we can block it. So this is the type of thing that we are adding on top and beyond to improve your levels of security if you add this layer of security. Okay. Now, if we go to the next slide, I will just want to summarize our values, our main values, and so that then we can go very quickly to the demo. So in terms of the technical value add that we provide, as I said, we provide more accuracy in detecting the vulnerabilities in your applications, also more intelligence in making decisions on what connections to block, because we have all the context of the application functioning. We offer you also immediateness. So we not only give you the results of the vulnerabilities in real time, but also while you are trying to fix them, we can help you blocking any attack trying to exploit those vulnerabilities. So we provide advanced prevention and remediation. And we make DevSecOps a reality, but being able to be a key part in any DevSecOps initiative. But to the business, what do we offer to the business? So business don't really want to see IT as a blocker to the business, but as a facilitator. So what we can add there is we can add speed and agility in all the processes regarding the application life. We can help to unify your tool sets, because now we have the best of worlds, providing static and dynamic information of your vulnerabilities, so you can get rid of some of your legacy tools. We also have a new layer of security. So with one only solution, one only vendor, you can achieve many objectives. So we can unify the tool sets. And obviously this normally comes together with reducing the costs in the price that you have to pay for it. And overall, the business will get a much better security posture, with normally will end up being better reputation, more customers, more users, more revenue. So last, before going to the demo, I'd like to very briefly touch base on a particular use case. So we go to the next slide, please. I would like to touch base in one of our very largest customers, which is a financial institution, a bank with many thousands of employees, with worldwide presence, a very well-known name. I'm not saying the name right now because, you know, financial institutions don't really like to be very open about the technologies they use. But, you know, if you want to know, maybe we can get an NDA agreement. We can discuss the name. But this big financial institution came to us after trying to solve some challenges with their security tools, protecting their critical applications against the newest threats without impacting the performance of their application. They end up looking, they had invested a lot of money in security, multiple firewall layers, but they could see that they were missing protections to certain types of attacks. So they started in researching about RASP solutions. They got to us and to many other RASP solutions out there. They did a short list, they ran a test. They were checking us against our accuracy, detecting and protecting, but also our accuracy in terms of, our performance impact in the application. In the end, while they were testing our protection solution, they decided to also test detection. And in the end, they acquired both. They now have a much better protection posture for their applications. And also they've been able to really shift left in terms of introducing security per design in their applications. So this is a clear example of how we can help improving the existing tools and mechanisms and procedures in our customers. So with this, I think we still have time to show you the solution in action. My colleague David will be doing that, but before that, I believe we have a second poll for you guys. Thank you very much.
Yes. So thank you, Daniel. So we'll go to the poll. Okay. Are you using any technology for vulnerability detection today? Say be it static application security testing or dynamic application security testing, interactive application security testing, ACA, software composition analysis, or none. So please select the option. You have 30 seconds to respond. If you use any of the two, like please let us know. I know some of you may have this combination of tools, but you can select the one that is most commonly and going to use your organization. You have another 10 seconds. Thank you. Okay, so I see many of the team, you are not using any tools, but SAST and DAST are, they are most widely used tools. But IAST, as you can see, it's gaining popularity. The main difference of IAST from both SAST and DAST is that it operates inside the application. Access to such a broad range of data makes IAST average bigger compared to the source code or HTTP spanning, as well as it allows for more accurate output. The very less false positive, right? Because of that, IAST is definitely gaining popularity. So thank you so much for sharing your inputs. Let's move on to the demo. Over to you, David.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm going to try to show you in around 10-15 minutes what we can do in a real environment. Okay, so let me share the screen. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, while David brings up the demo or request the audience to key in your questions, the speakers will be able to answer your questions at the end after the demo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nan. So basically, well, first of all, I wanted to show you what is a real environment for us. So basically, remember that we are going to provide detection and protection capabilities. How we do that? Well, what we install together with the application in the application server where we have running the applications is a specific piece of software, an agent that is going to be running together with the applications, instrumenting the applications to provide our detection capabilities and also our protection capabilities. So basically, we do cover all these languages, so we can cover applications which have been developed in this kind of languages, and of course, all the information that our agent is going to be gathering together is going to be sent to a console, a central console, which can be on-premise in your own environment, or it can be installed in the cloud or in your service provider, which is going to be providing all the information regarding your vulnerabilities and also the attacks that you are having in your applications. So this is what you are going to see here in this demo. Okay, so basically what you are going to see is an application running in an application server in my laptop. Okay, just to show where it is. So this is my laptop. This is one of my folders. I have an Apache Tomcat server here, which is not running now, but I'm going to run. Together with this application server, I have the agent, Hdiv agent, which is the software, Hdiv software, which will provide the value. And also I have some applications, some insecure bank applications that we have created for the demo, for showing the value. Okay, so let me start the server together with the applications. So it will take some time. You will see here appearing the Java logo because this is a Java application server. And now it's going to start working. Okay, but first, let me jump into the console, Hdiv console. Okay, so, well, basically it's here. So this is a web console. Okay, in my case, I don't have it on premise. I don't have it in my laptop. I have it in the cloud. So you can have an overview on the summary of your vulnerabilities in the full applications that you have. Also, you can see an overview of your vulnerability trends. So you can see how the vulnerabilities are evolving week by week or monthly, or even per version of your application. So you can have a real view on the improvement or not improvement in terms of the vulnerabilities that your applications have. Of course, you can filter this per application. And also you can see all the vulnerabilities, all the applications and vulnerabilities that you have per environment. This is also relevant because remember, we told you that we can help you in a DevSecOps approach. So that means that you are going to be interested in detecting vulnerabilities along the software development life cycle of your applications. So we are going to help you in development, in QA, and also in production. So we can integrate the agent, the Hdiv agent, in every single environment. So you see the vulnerabilities while your developers are developing, the vulnerabilities that you have in the QA phase while you are testing the application, and also even in production while the end users are using your applications. Okay, so this is the environment. But remember, first we provide detection capabilities. So let me show you how our interactive application security testing tool works. So let's move into the web application, which is running now. Remember, in my local host, it's running locally. This is the insecure bank application, and this is the login page of this web application. So we don't need to attack the application to detect the vulnerabilities. We just need to browse the application to use it as a normal user. So I'm going to browse the application. I sign it. This is a user. So I can see the dashboard in this insecure bank demo application. I can see the activity. Okay, this is my activity. I have different accounts. I can go to a different account. I can do transfers, wherever. Okay, but remember, I'm not attacking. I'm just browsing the application. Let's see what we can provide with our interactive application security testing tool. Let's jump into the console. So if we go to the vulnerabilities tab, you will see that we have found some vulnerabilities. It's ordered by last occurrence, and you can see that my local time, I'm in Europe, so this is 5:43 p.m. as my clock says. So you can see that in real time, I have detected all these vulnerabilities coming into the application while I was just browsing the application. So if I click some of them, I can order by scoring. So you can see here very critical vulnerabilities like this one, which is an SQL injection in the login. So remember that we were telling you that we can provide information that a static analysis tool and a dynamic analysis tool could provide to you, but in a single tool. So you can see here the full detail on the vulnerability that we have detected in real time. The first occurrence, the last occurrence, just right now, the URL where we have the problem, the IP address from the user who was browsing the application. So this is the kind of information that a dynamic application security testing tool would provide. But the good news is that we also provide information that the developer requires to solve the issue, which is the file where we have the problem and also the line number where we have the issue, together with additional information and even the tainted value, the SQL, which is coming exactly to the line of the code, which is executing as an SQL query into the database with the real information that is coming to the application. So this is the kind of information that we can provide to our customers, okay? At the same time, let me tell you that we can, of course, integrate this information with your backtracker tools. Here in system settings, we can show how we can integrate our solution with different issue managers like Jira or Asana or Mantis. So we can send automatically a ticket to your backtracker tool, so your developers can see the same way that they resolve any bug in their code, functional bug, they can see the same ticket for a security bug. So we integrate into the ways that you are using for solving your issues in development. Okay, this is very easy to do it with this feature. Okay, so at the same time, of course, if you are a developer, you don't like to see any console. You are programming, you are developing, you don't want to see any distraction while developing. So you need to have tools which help you to solve the issues in real time. I don't know if you noticed something that was down below the browser, which is this what we call this developer toolbar. Okay, this is not a plugin in the browser. This is something that our agent is sending directly to this user, which is me. Imagine that I'm the developer, so I'm just checking what I have just developed. Imagine that I just developed the login, so I want to go into the login as developer, and while I'm doing the signing, I'm just testing what I have just developed. I can see down below the vulnerabilities that I have created in the code. So in real time, the developer can see this information to try to solve the problem. Of course, they can have access to an online help to understand what is going on and how to solve the issue. But not only that, we have a feature which can attach directly this vulnerability with the IDE where the developer is developing the application, so we can jump directly to the line of the code where we have the problem and solve it in real time. Of course, this developer toolbar is optional. You can see where I am configuring this, okay? Because of course, if we are in QA or in production, this developer toolbar doesn't have any sense, right? So you can see here that I have some environment properties. So if I edit these environmental properties, you can see that I have some properties from Hdiv, and this is the toolbar I have enabled. If I put false and I restart the server, of course, I will not have this feature ready, okay? But this is an option that we provide to our customers. Additionally, in the console, remember that we told you that we have also SCA capabilities. So you can see a libraries tab. This tab brings information about all the libraries that your applications are using. For instance, in Secure Bank is using all these libraries, these dependencies. We can click any of these libraries and we can see every single CVE that we have in these libraries. But not only that, we have this tab where we can, of course, order by a score the critical vulnerabilities that we have in those libraries, and we can understand how to solve this problem. Maybe we need to migrate to a new version of the same library because it has not this CVE. Okay, so we help also our customers to solve these kind of problems in the dependencies and libraries that they are using together with their applications. We can provide some reporting. For instance, maybe you are interested in understanding how are your applications against the OWASP top 10 or maybe against PCI DSS rules, right? So we can run this kind of reports, high-level reports, where you can see per application how your application is performing against this kind of standard reports that we can find interesting for our customers, okay? So this is regarding detection. But remember, we told you that not only are we going to be able to detect, but also protect against the typical attacks that we can have in our applications. But let's see, remember, we had some critical vulnerabilities in the application. Remember that we had, for instance, the SQL injection in the login. Okay, let's try to exploit this attack. Okay, so basically, if we go to the overview, you can see here that I have configured the solution as monitoring. Basically, this means that our RASP solution, our protection capabilities are only monitoring the applications. Our solution is not going to stop any attack, but it's going to report the attack. Let's see what happens, okay? I have the application here, and I'm going to try to perform an SQL injection in the login because I know that there is a potential vulnerability there, right? So I'm going to use this expression, which is very popular between the hackers, is very simple one. It's an expression that is always true. So that means that if we have this vulnerability, this weakness in the code, it's going to be able to access to the application. So let's do the sign in. As you can see, I have go inside the application without a valid login. Remember, I was in monitoring mode. So let's see what I'm reporting. Okay, so if I go to the attacks tab and I see all the attacks, the last one, which is exactly in this time, okay, the real time that I have in my clock, you can see that there is a new attack. In this case, it has been exploited because I was in monitoring. So you can see that there was an SQL injection attack against the URL with the specific information that is coming to the query with the real information. This is very useful for our customers. And also the IP address, which has been developing this attack. Of course, in this case, is local IP, okay? And of course, as we have also the detection capabilities, we can relate the attack with the related vulnerability. If we click here, we see the vulnerability that is behind this attack, okay? But the last thing I wanted to show to you is that, of course, we are in monitoring, but let's put the solution in running mode. That means that we are going to stop the attacks that are trying to exploit those vulnerabilities. So let's try to perform the same attack. Very simple example. So I'm going to perform the same attack. And as you can see, in this case, Hdiv Security is blocking the attack. Of course, this message is because this is a demo. We are going to be integrating this message with your standard messages. Okay, so we will show, okay, user not valid. We are not going to give hints to the hacker to understand what is going on, right? So in this case, if we see very quickly the attack, I mean the console, you see that we are identifying an attack, an SQL injection attack, but in this case, the attack has been blocked. We have blocked the attack. Of course, we can detect many different attacks. If you go to system settings, you can see all the rules that we provide in detection and in protection. So you have more than 29 different protection rules that we can configure, and we can protect your applications against a wide range of attacks. Last thing I wanted to mention is that, of course, as Daniel mentioned at the beginning, we can integrate this solution with different alert systems. We can send an alert through email of a specific critical attack through email, but of course also through syslog. We can integrate our solution with your CM tools that are providing the different security logs that you have in your different solutions. So very easy to integrate with different security CM tools that you may be using in your production environment. With that, I hand over to Canan, and I don't know if there are some questions. Thank you so much.
Thanks, David, for taking us through the product. We have some questions from the audience already, and I request people to key in the questions. If you don't have time, we'll make sure that we respond back to you with the answers. There's a question from the audience, probably Daniel, this is for you. Can you compare Hdiv with other products in the market?
So, Daniel?
Yeah, that's for you. Can you compare Hdiv with other products in the market? Probably that the audience is trying to ask the differentiator or something on those lines.
Yeah, sorry, Anand. You said this was for Kanan or for me?
For you, Daniel.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Yeah, of course we can compare. So as we say, there's many solutions in the market trying to focus on detection only or protection only. So one of the differentiators for Hdiv is that we cover the whole life cycle of the application, from the very beginning to the very end when it's in production. So I think that in itself is a differentiator. Then when we focus in the different features that we offer, detection and protection, we are implementing in both the latest trends, the latest technologies for detection and protection. That again is another differentiator. If we go down the road, go into the detection part, we implement interactive application security testing and software composition analysis. And if you look out there in the market, there's actually very few tools providing this type of solutions. Actually, I would say there is around only 3-4 tools today in the market providing a mature solution for IAST. We are one of them. So that's, again, is a big differentiator, okay? Then when we talk in protection, again, there's not very many tools implementing RASP. And from those, we have a clear differentiator, which is we can protect against attacks to the logic of the application in real time with no training of our solution. So overall, as you see, there's a number of differentiators at different levels that we believe position Hdiv as one of the unique provider to improve your application security. So,
right.
Good question.
Thank you. Yeah. Our next question is, an external company develops applications for us. In this scenario, what is your recommendation to always be aware of the existing vulnerabilities in what they develop?
Yeah. Okay.
Daniel, one of you can actually take this up.
Yeah, I can reply this because I find this very commonly in many customers. So of course, some customers, some organizations do a lot of development, but many others leave this to an outsourcer, to an expert in developing. And many times, when we go and talk to them, they say, Daniel, I have an issue. I paid someone to develop an application. Okay, the application is here, is doing what it's supposed to be doing in terms of functionality, but how do I make sure that the application is secure enough for me to be ready to go into production? Because I may be running some manual pen testing, but that's some web scanning, but that doesn't seem to be enough. So the good news is that, as I said, we don't need the source code of the application to actually check for the vulnerabilities. So we can definitely use our solution, and without changing any of the tasks that those customers are doing today to check the functionality of the application. So just by checking the functionality and adding Hdiv, we will be highlighting the vulnerabilities. So this is something that is very much appreciated for many of our large customers, which a lot of outsourced applications. So yeah.
Right. Kanan, what do you think, being a security specialist and having implemented solutions across customer locations, what do you think are the vulnerabilities that people should be aware of?
So definitely, as David gave a demo, it starts from the simple, the SQL injection, right? I mean, that's the easiest that anyone can try and exploit. So right now, the server-side request forgery and all these, advanced threat vectors, it keeps popping up. But many times, as I in my initial example that I talked about the Starbucks, right? I mean, it was a simple SQL exploitation. So you can't ignore or anyone. I mean, you just have to constantly make sure all these vulnerabilities are identified and it is taken care. Otherwise, one small loophole can definitely lead to the exploitation of especially the financial or the personal data.
Right. We have hit the time. We'll just take one last question from the audience. Will RASP slow my application?
Will RASP, excuse me?
Slow.
Will RASP slow my application?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Again, yeah. The quick answer to this is yes, but very little. Okay, because obviously, what we are doing is we are running in the application server or even in the application itself. So we are adding obviously CPU cycles. Otherwise, it would mean we will be doing nothing, right? So yes, it does have a little bit impact in performance, but this impact is very small. Normally, in the very low one-digit number in percentage, so 2, 3%, 4%, maybe sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more. It depends on the application. But we have customers testing our performance with thousands of ticks per second or requests per second, and they value that the benefits from Hdiv overcome the nearly negligible impact in performance. But yeah, there is a little bit of a hit, of course.
Right. Thank you. And that comes to the end of the session. Thank you very much, Daniel, David, and Kannan for the valuable insights on application security. Audience, hope you enjoyed the insights from the speakers today. If you have any queries, please feel free to write to us at enquiry@gavstech.com. We'll be happy to respond back with appropriate responses from the speakers here. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you, speakers. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.